Mr. Haynes, Mr. Biggins, being live streamed, yay. Mr. Baker is trying. I'm gonna make the assumption that he's trying. You can you hear Mr. Baker, Mr. Baker Senior?
I can hear you.
No, I'm looking for Mr. Baker Senior. Bob, can you hear me? Like shake your head or something. All right. Yeah, he's having Wi-Fi issues. He's got to restart his router. All right. Well, it's past time, so I'm gonna have to open the public meeting. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 3rd meeting of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals. For the record, everybody is participating remotely. That would be myself, Mr. Baker Jr., Mr. Haynes, Mr. Galley, Mr. Baker Sr., and I'm hoping Mr. Tanzi is gonna roll in here at some point. Okay, normally it's Mr. Baker Sr. that does this, but I need a motion to open the public meeting.
Don't move, Mr. Chairman.
I need a second.
Second.
I got a second. Roll call. Myself. Let's see, Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Galley. You can step in on this one. Mr. Galley, just shake your head. Just say yes.
Yep, okay. You were choppy for a second to me.
I'm assuming Mr. Baker is connecting to the audio side. He's here. All right, so the meeting is opened. From there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the advertisement. Let's see, 7:30 p.m. remotely conducted continuance public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. on the application submitted by Lighthouse Development LLC for a variance and or special permits pursuant to section 415.22, 415.22.A1, size and design of parking spaces, 15.22.A2A, parking setbacks in residential zone, and 415.89 and or 415.89.1 to allow an alternate size and design of parking spaces, and the applicant to maintain a parking area in the front yard of the premises known as and numbered 59 North Avenue, Rockland, Massachusetts. The property is located in the R2 residence zoning district, subsection 415-9 of the bylaw, and is further identified as lot 34-48-0 on the Rockland Assessors Maps. The owner of the property is Lighthouse Development LLC, 59 North Ave, Rockland, Massachusetts. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town website and zoning board's webpage for additional information and remote meeting details. Okay. Kim, I know you sent me the text, but just remind me again who was voting on this. Kim, where are you? Did you go away, Kim?
There, she's on mute.
Yeah, I did the whole ask to unmute thing.
Yeah, she is muted.
And I don't know if everybody heard, Lisa brought this up. Verizon seems to be having an issue. So anybody that has Verizon, whether it's cell phone or Verizon internet or something like that, that could be an issue. I'm pretty sure Kim has Verizon on her phone, and oh, I have Verizon. So do I. Let's see. All right, based on the text, if I'm reading this correctly, Lighthouse, voting members, Lighthouse Development on 9/7 voting was myself, Mr. Tanzi, Mr. Haynes, Mr. Baker Jr., and Mr. Baker Sr. So it was a full board. I'm trying to get a hold of Mr. Tanzi. I don't see him. And Mr. Baker is having an issue. So, that technically only leaves 1, 2, 3, and I could step in, I could substitute, Rosa, Haynes, Baker, and Galley. Okay, now on 10-5, Attorney Brodsky, can you confirm on this, that on 10-5, we changed the vote, we changed the voting?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Let me look at my notes, please. And if for some reason you can't hear me, please let me know. I have some problem with my connection. And a suggestion for Mr. Baker Senior, I don't know whether he can just telephone in rather than try and connect via computer. That might be more efficient, but
Yeah, let me, all right, so, oh, now now I got something back here. Galley was subbed for Baker Senior and Tanzi was sick. I talked to him yesterday. He thought he was pretty sure he was gonna come in. He thought the meeting was yesterday, and he wasn't gonna make it, but today I don't see him having a problem. So Mr. Baker Senior, he's done. I'm not too worried about it for your application, Mr. Brodsky. Mr. Galley, you're voting on this, but unfortunately, Mr. Tanzi was also a voting member. He's not here. Was he? Yeah, he wasn't here on the last one. I know he watched the video and he was gonna do correct me, Mulligan rule? Is that what it, no?
the Mullen rule.
The
Mr.
Mullen
Chair.
rule. Okay, I apologize.
I like Mulligan better though.
You know, I kind of like that myself.
Hey, you can take a mulligan on that, Rob.
Thank you. I will take the mulligan on that one. Thank you. I know the meeting's in progress. Let me just let me see if I can throw another phone call to Mr. Tanzi here. Because if not, we're going to have to continue with 4 members. Yeah, everybody's having issues there.
Hi, you've reached Greg Tansey. Please leave your name and number, and I
Yeah.
will be sure to return your call.
No, you won't. All right, Attorney Brodsky, it's pretty much the same situation that we had the last time. We're dealing with 4 voting members. Mr. Baker Senior, who's having problems with his Wi-Fi or his internet, he wasn't a voting member anyway. So we removed him because the surgery he was going through. We replaced him with Mr. Galley, and as of the last meeting, Greg was sick, so he wasn't here anyway. Do you want to continue with 4 members?
Mr. Chair, should we proceed as we did last week and present our additional information and then revisit the issue? Perhaps Mr. Tanzi will join us.
I like that. I'm
Just trying to keep forward progress to the extent we can, sir.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Because again, Attorney Galvin was supposed to be dialing in by this time, so it is what it is. All right, zoning board members, the ones that can hear, I'm assuming that you got the plan and you were able to review that plan. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Attorney Brodsky, talk to me.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As you will remember, I represent Lighthouse Development LLC. Ivy White is our Director of Operations, and Paul Seberg, our professional engineer with Grady Consulting, is with us this evening. Excuse me. After the public hearing on October 5th, we had 6 deliverables, and those are reflected in the revised site plans as well as Paul's letter dated November 1. First, you asked us for a parking calculation. To conform to current zoning, we require 20 parking spaces. We're proposing 12, 7 in the rear, 5 in the front, and we have 1 spot in the rear reserved for the box truck. Second, you asked us for a layout of the proposed parking with dotted lines. Again, you'll remember that we were not proposing to stripe the parking spaces. Third, you wanted us to identify our snow storage area, and that's shown in the rear of the plan. And Paul can bring up the plan if you'd like him to share a screen so we can describe that in more detail. Fourth, we provided you with a turning analysis to show you how we accommodate the neighbor's truck and trailer. You'll remember that we did not want to put parking in the northwest corner of the site because the neighbor uses that on a regular basis for his truck and trailer. And so Paul did a turning analysis to show you that information. At this point in time, Lighthouse doesn't wish to alienate its neighbor and still wants to accommodate him. And even if we eliminated the use of that corner of the lot, it wouldn't really materially change our need for additional parking. Fifth, you asked us to explore relocating the fence on the north and the northeast side of the property. That would result in only 1 additional parking space. Again, it doesn't solve our parking problems. We do have a problem in that the existing grades are such that it would require the construction of a retaining wall to relocate the fence. It's an additional feature relating to lot shape and topography that again makes this site unique. And I'm not certain how the zoning board or the building commissioner would address constructing a retaining wall within the setback and whether that in fact would require its own zoning relief to accommodate it. We don't think that's a good alternative to potentially gain 1 parking spot, which again doesn't solve our problem. And lastly, number 6, you asked us to provide landscaping along the street and again the eastern property line. And so we've proposed a planting. And again, I can have, with your permission, have Paul bring up the site plan if that's helpful to you, and he can explain in more detail what we're proposing. But hopefully that answered all of the 6 outstanding questions from our last hearing.
I see I see the answers to the questions. I'm gonna open this up to the board members. Mr. Baker Jr., I see you first. Go for it.
And Mr. Chair, excuse me, before that, I see that Mr. Tanzi has in fact joined us, so I hope he's feeling better.
Oh, there he is. Oh, I see him. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Did you watch the video from the last time?
I did.
All right. Did you file the Mullen paperwork with the town?
I've got that going in the process. They're gonna they didn't have any of the paperwork at the town. They're gonna email it to me, so I have to fill that out and get it back to them.
Okay. I'm not sure that covers it. I don't know if by law that actually covers it. So we're gonna forego it for right now. We're not gonna talk about it. Even if you're not a voting member, even if you're no longer a voting member, you're still a member of the ZBA. You can ask questions and stuff. We'll figure that out once Attorney Galvin shows up. Mr. Baker Jr., talk to me.
Quickly, Mr. Chairman, through you to Attorney Brodsky. If you could refresh our memories on the original submission, how many spaces were provided for in the rear and how many were being requested in the front?
Yes, sir. We were not proposing any changes to the rear. That's how we presently park cars. So you wanted to see what we provide, and that's 7 parking spaces in the rear. And in the front, we didn't articulate exactly how many spaces, but we have laid those out using your standard dimensions for parking spaces, and we can accommodate 5 cars in the front. So that's for a total of 12 for the site. Again, the site is non-conforming in all respects. It's non-conforming with respect to use. The lot is non-conforming. The building is non-conforming with respect to setbacks, and the parking has been non-conforming as far as we've owned the property.
So the examination and the work that was done in the rear, is my understanding correct that it didn't provide for any additional parking?
That's correct, Mr. Baker. Again, you may remember Chair Rosa astutely identified the fact that the fence was set back from the property line, and he asked us to evaluate if we moved that fence, how many additional parking spaces would we get? The hope was that we'd get a number of parking spaces, but as Paul can confirm, we can only get one additional parking space, and in order to do that, we'd have to construct a retaining wall within the side yard and rear yard setback. And it's a much more involved process, obviously, to do that. And even if we gain one additional parking space, it doesn't solve our parking problem.
In my recollection, in addition to the fence, there was a request based on the chair's observations that you sort of take another look at the rear lot to see what, if anything, could be done. And it's certainly based on the plan and the letter. It appears that you've done that. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, and again, we've designated the snow removal area. We've located the best location for the box truck so we can accommodate that. We've done our best to maximize the existing parking to get as many spots at the rear in the hopes that that helps solve the problem, but it didn't.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Baker, Mr. Baker Jr. Mr. Haynes.
I'd say my question would be about the front parking spaces, and this doesn't look like the way everybody is parking there now. So maybe we could talk a bit about whether you're going to park at this angle, or if this is trying to just show the space. This just doesn't look like the way that it's being used or would be used. And if it is how you're going to use it, then how would you propose to limit the parking to these areas? Because one of the things that's nice about this is we actually get a partial 10-foot buffer on that front corner over by the fire hydrant. So maybe we could talk about the design aspect of this angle and its actual use.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. I might have to enlist the services of both Mr. Seberg and Ms. White to answer your question. The purpose of the exercise was to lay out the parking using your standard dimensions to show you what we could accommodate there. As far as whether we would use it differently, I'd have to ask that question of Ms. White. With respect to limiting the use of that area, I'm sure that Mr. Seberg may have some suggestions as what we could do to delineate that parking area, be it stops of some sort. But perhaps be appropriate, Ms. White, would you speak to how you intend to park there?
Oh, yes. We have, as you know, 11 employees, and we take up the back and the front. So it would be as designed or shown on the design, the tandem parking. And that's how we intended to use it.
So I was referring specifically to the angle. I think when I see people parking there, they park parallel to North Ave, not parallel to the front of the building. And so we've got like we have a nice big buffer in that front corner by the fire hydrant, but I just haven't seen that anybody actually parks this way where we're going to get that buffer.
So, Mr. Haynes, I think, and I don't want to speak for Ms. White, but we certainly can agree, and perhaps if the board was inclined to grant a variance, it could be conditioned on parking using the approved parking configuration and not something different. Again, to to your point, to maximize the buffer. And Paul, do you have any suggestions as to how we could delineate that parking area?
So as far as delineating it, since it's tandem spaces, you can't really put a curb stop in between each space. So you put a curb stop basically on the easterly side, the two easterly sides, so that the cars would know basically to pull right up to that curb stop, which kind of orientate them more towards parallel to North Ave if that's how they want to see it, or it could be parallel to the building, whichever is preferred.
We are graveled, like you're graveled right up, to the edge. So would we actually pull back the gravel and plant that buffer area?
Where that 10-foot area is, that's one missing parking spot there in the lower right-hand corner.
Yeah.
If that's agreeable to Mrs. White, it's a possibility.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I'm a little confused as to the confusion of how we're parking. Right now, again, we pull into Garrity and then turn and park, I guess, parallel to the building in North Ave. For us,
Not the way that it shows on Google Earth. Everybody seems to be parking parallel to the road.
to the road,
Yep,
right, to North Ave.
right. That's not how that's not how it's shown on the plan. That's what Mr. Haynes is referring to.
Mr. Chair, maybe there's a misunderstanding. We are showing tandem parking spaces that are parallel to North Avenue in the plan.
No, you're not.
That's what I.
They're on a slight angle to North Ave. They're more parallel to the building.
Parallel to the building, which is
like
not
we-
parallel to North Ave.
Yes, sir, that's correct. I think that's where the distinction is. Understood.
And that's what Mr. Haynes is talking about, because based on what we've seen from, again, it's Google Earth pictures, everybody's parking parallel to North Ave, meaning they're getting kind of close to that, to the hydrant that's over there. And I'm just looking at this thinking that if, God forbid, they have to get in there to deal with that hydrant, they're going to need as much room around the hydrant as they can get. And we're talking the fire department. That's number one. But number two, if your cars are all parked there and it's your building that needs saving, those cars are going to be right in the way of getting that line to your building. I mean, I'm sure there's a million different ways that it can work, but from the fire department standpoint. But I think, and again, I may be wrong, but I think that's kind of where Mr. Haynes was going, in the sheer fact that hydrant is going to need, some sort of buffer around it so it can be utilized. And that's not the way that Google Earth is showing that you guys are parking the cars. So,
Thank you, Mr. Now I understand. There has to be and again, I'm speaking to Mr. Seaberg, there's got to be a way that we can delineate that area to ensure parking. I know at one point that Ms. White was discussing at some point in the future paving that area. But I don't know whether that's something that we should be talking about that would, again, help delineate and restrict the way that cars are parked there.
well, you didn't want to talk about it. You brought it up. I was going to bring it up anyway. What you're creating here is a parking lot. And we have very specific regs when it comes to creating a parking lot and where you're going to be parking vehicles. Paving is required. The whole point is that when you're parking a car for an extended period of time, whether it's 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever the time period is, vehicles leak fluids. So the point of the paving is to not allow said fluids to get into the ground and then in turn pollute the groundwater. So If that's something that we need to talk about now, let's talk about it. If not, we can wait till the end, because I was gonna bring it up anyway.
And of course, the advantage that paving would provide would be to have specifically and visibly delineated spaces, as opposed to a notion of where people are supposed to park based
Exactly,
on a plan that nobody can actually see.
right. I honestly, and it's, if we start talking about this, and the rear is an existing condition. The rear parking area is an existing condition. And in a sense, that fence being so far onto your property, it almost creates a 10-foot buffer in the rear. So however you look at it, it's an existing condition. I don't think we can, I wouldn't want to talk about the back. All right, I don't want to talk about the back. That should be, as far as I'm concerned, that should be left alone. The front, I have a major concern about this. If you're going to, if you were talking about it or thinking about paving it, then we got to think about doing it now. And in turn, if that were the case, could the board look at it and say, all right, you're real close there to about a 5-foot buffer. Could the board look at this and say, okay, you can park in the front. We don't care what configuration you park, as long as there's some sort of buffer. If we looked at, let's say, a 5-foot buffer along the street line, a 5-foot buffer along the along the right-hand side property, and then you've got a grass strip up against the building, which looks to be about 5 feet. If you were to maintain a 5-foot buffer and pave it, I think you guys can figure out how to park your own cars. Carefully enough that you're not gonna ding each other's doors, and people are gonna hate each other, and then they're gonna quit, and then you got extra parking spaces. I'd say I think that if we created a decent parking lot in the front, gave you the area to be able to do what you need to do, I'm sure you guys are adults. I'm sure you can figure out how to park your own vehicles safely and conveniently for yourselves. It's just, we do need some sort of buffer off of the property line. We do need some sort of green space. I like the fact that we're showing proposed arborvitae. They're relatively cheap, plantings. They're relatively hardy, and it would be a good screen on that front property line to the parking area, as long as there's some sort of decent area enough that they can get around the hydrant, and I mean the fire department can get around the hydrant. I think that may work, but again, we haven't talked to the rest of the board. I've just opened my mouth and started talking. Mr. Haynes, you weren't done yet, and I'm sorry. I apologize. Please continue. Please continue. I apologize.
Yeah, summed up some of my thoughts. I thought when I saw the angle, I thought, you really might actually get 6 spots the way you actually park in there, and there might be a way that it worked if you weren't doing the angle. I'm with you. I think a bit of green space between a front parking lot and the street is nice. And for me, it's not about privacy per se, but just like softening the edge. So it's just a landscaped border. A landscape buffer is what we ask for. And as an architect, I'm not sure that I call arborvitae's landscaping, but that's my own prejudice against that particular tree.
We could do it, so they could do without the arborvitae's and actually do just like a nice landscape front flower or something like that.
Yeah, for me, a landscape strip, and I'm okay reducing it from the 10 feet, but it's that buffer. Sight lines are really important on North Ave. So when you're pulling in and out, it's a busy road. So its sightlines would be more important, than the privacy. And I'm sure everybody who parks there would agree. So I just wanted to visit that angle. And otherwise, I don't have any other questions. I think I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. Appreciate that. Mr. Galley, you're up.
Yeah, I was just wondering about along the sidewalk where they were proposing, the what do they call it, the arborative? If it would be any reason why I couldn't extend a little bit, I don't know if it's just to the design or if there's a reason why it's short in the front, or can it go further to the edge of Garrity Court? Because I'm just thinking pedestrians might look ahead and see what looks like the driveway entrance and not expect a car. I mean, I don't know if it'll be blocking vision from pedestrians of the road, but just look ahead where Garrity is and where like the pavement looks like it's an entrance, but there's a sidewalk slightly before that. I'm thinking, could they extend that barrier closer to the Garrity, just so that way when people are just walking, they expect a car to come around it and not come across the edge of it and kind of go off the sidewalk.
So basically, what you're looking at is extending where they're ending the arborvitae trees off. Basically, just maintain a buffer strip all the way along North Ave and stop just short of Garrity Court.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I just feel like it'd be safer for pedestrians.
Mhm.
Not for oncoming traffic. I just feel like for pedestrians, they would see that as a site for when they would expect a car to come out. I feel like a car could just go around it and kind of go off that sidewalk because it's a very short sidewalk.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
We have no problem putting the landscaping right to the edge of where the earth is exposed. There is about a 2-foot or 3-foot sidewalk that goes on the side down Garrity Court into our side doorway. So we would bring the plantings as far down as, the earth is exposed there. That wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, this is Adam Brodsky. I just want you to know that we chose the arborvitae because we had limited space between what was going to be the southernmost parking space and the sidewalk. And
Right.
so we just, but if we can pull that back more and maintain, as you suggested, a 5-foot buffer along that entire property line, that gives us a lot more flexibility to do planting. And again, I think Ms. White would embrace perhaps something lower and more attractive than arborvitae. Again, we had limited room to do this, and we wanted to get the most screening that we could. So that was the reasoning, and we're happy to make any changes that the board thinks. And I personally like that idea, and I think Ms. White would support that. Do a
Absolutely.
nice landscape border across there.
Let's see. Mr. Tanzi, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, talk to me. You're looking at the plan. What do you listen to the meeting? You know what we asked for. What are your thoughts?
Well, site's a very marginal site. I mean, every property can support so much traffic or, parking. These are my concerns. One is aesthetics. Even when the parking lot's empty, I mean, there are residential houses around there. If you look at Google Earth, and the residents around this property and across the street, they have small front yards too, but they're predominantly, lawns, and they're kept lawns. The other thing is, the big thing in my mind is the safety. I mean, that hydrant is not just being used for that building, it's being used for the houses, within 500 feet of that building. and I'm in favor of arborvitae landscaping and with everything, you have to have a little bit of give and take and I understand that. But even landscaping, like what Tim had mentioned, there are site distance issues. It could interfere with the operation of the hydrant, depending upon what they have to do, how accessible that hydrant is, running lines, etc., or hoses, I should say. The shuffling of cars being the tandem parking in and out close to a sidewalk. I have to address that's a concern. It's a safety concern for me. The sidewalk is busy. The street is a busy street. It's not a side road. And there's an awful lot of relief being requested here. And every property has its ability to safely sustain so much business, so many cars, so much parking. And this is definitely a very marginal site. And I just have to be honest, I've got a lot of safety concerns with it. And I've got aesthetic concerns as well for the neighborhood.
Mr. Chair, this is Adam Brodsky, and Ms. White can confirm this. I believe that she explained that we would not have people shuffling in and out. The employees would come in the morning and park for the day and then leave at night. But I'd ask her to confirm that and to correct me if I'm mistaken.
It is that way for most of the time. There are times, we go out for lunch. So I go out to the bank, but it's not a constant coming and going. Usually when people park, they're there for a good portion of the day, unless, like I said, lunchtime, break time, if I have to go to the bank.
Thank you. And Mr. Seberg can likely address the sight line distance issue because it's a legitimate concern and we need to address it.
Right. And looking at the site, this road's a perfectly straight roadway. So as long as there's not any high plantings that we're proposing along the front of the parking lot, I don't see any sort of sight distance issues that we'd encounter. If we keep those plantings low, then there should be adequate sight distance in either direction. And we can certainly provide that sight distance calculation if needed.
Mr. Tanzi, you got anything else?
No, Mr. Chairman. There's sight distances for traffic. There's sight distances for kids on bicycles. I just envision several times a day, whether it be lunch or errands or, who knows what. There's going to be some backing up and shuffling and, cars are going to have to, one car will have to, most likely pull out onto the street, let another car go and then back in. It's the shuffling and the hydrant issue and the aesthetic issues they're still there and there's still concerns of mine. I give the applicant credit. You've worked very hard and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, a site can only support so much activity.
Very true. All right, you done?
I am.
Mr. Seberg, coming to you.
Yep.
What's the chance you get your AutoCAD open?
I do.
What's the chance that you can calculate for me, if it came down to it, a 5-foot buffer off of the right sideline and a 5-foot buffer off of the street line. Follow what looks to be something like a 5-foot buffer off the building. And then go all the way out to Garrity Court and tell me what the square footage is. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. The reason why I'm asking is, again, we're creating a parking lot, regardless of how many cars, how long it's going to be there. It's still a parking lot. And when a parking lot comes into play, we require that parking lot to be paved.
And
So what I'd like to know is kind of how much square footage we're looking at when it comes to paving, and how bad, because I'm looking at the grades right now. It's 101, 101.2, 101.5, and it's going up. It feels like it's going up as you get closer to the right-hand front corner of the building, and then it looks like it's getting lower as you go to the street, all the way through to the point where you're a foot lower by the street. So it looks to me like technically it's draining into Garrity Court and then into North Avenue, just based on the grading that I see here. And I'm just wondering how we deal with that, because technically you're not supposed to shed water into the road. It's an existing condition at this point. But when you aggravate the existing condition with adding an impervious surface, then it's a different story. So I'm just trying to figure out if this is something that's going to require some sort of on-site drainage. I don't think so. I think that 5-foot buffer could be turned into a gravel like a gravel situation, almost like a dry well. I know I have a couple of engineers here. They could probably answer that question for me. If that 5-foot buffer turned into, let's say, a gravel strip, or like a crushed stone strip, that would allow water to flow into said strip and then infiltrate into the ground, would that be enough to cover? Would that be enough to cover the drainage issue? Mr. Tanzi, I'm not going to go to you. Mr. Seberg, I am going to go to you on this. What are your thoughts?
So we do have 1,205 square feet of pavement based on what you're proposing. We could pitch it down towards North Avenue to a crushed stone trench like you recommended. I'd have to do a sizing calculation to determine if that would be adequate size for drainage at that point.
But it just, I don't know, give me your opinion. Does that
that's a good option.
Does that seem like it would a decent option?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Mr. Tanzi, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. In fact, in a very small area that we're talking about, if you were able to have positive street drainage, and it gets into the curb, if it's not puddling, if it's making its way into the catch basin, you'd probably have a better water quality than just having it run off directly into a crushed stone trench. Because at least with a catch basin, you've got a sump and maybe even a hood. A big key to the solution to pollution is dilution. So I mean, I wouldn't really push anything really strenuous from a runoff standpoint. I mean, I do not have a runoff control concern.
Okay. All right, because based on the grading, it's an existing condition. If it were already paved, it'd be running into the street anyway. That's the way that I see it. I just don't want to, if if we're looking at this like a parking lot and we're going to talk about paving this as a parking lot, I just don't want to see extra drainage all of a sudden dive into the road. And I don't see a catch basin anywhere close. If I look at Google Earth, that's not really helping me. I don't necessarily see a catch basin until if we said feet from here all the way down. Nearest catch basin is 286 feet west of the site, and the grading does seem to support that it's definitely going downhill that way. So don't see a problem with it. You're the resident engineer on the board, so and if you don't see a problem with it dumping it in the street, the only reason why I throw in make that 5-foot buffer, like a crushed stone, with some low plantings in there, low plantings that, like a low hardy planting or something like that. It could then double as snow storage. Snow storage that would melt into the crushed stone. I think it would actually help, but again, then now you're getting close to the hydrant with the snow and stuff like that. So
Well, that's
Either way.
actually a good point that you brought up, is the snow storage. I actually didn't, I didn't even think of it. So I mean, I commend you on that issue, but what are they going to do with the snow? Where is that going to be put? Or
In the
is
back,
there going to
they've
be a
got-
provision for it to be hauled off?
Al,
Because
they've got an
when it
area.
melts, you don't want it melting on the sidewalk either.
True.
You-
You've got an area in the back that's proposed snow storage. It's not that big. And in the end, it's probably going to have to be trucked off to some degree. I think they'll have to figure that out once they start parking all the cars in there. This is also real close to a school. Where are we? I'm trying to see how far, and if Mr. Baker Senior was here, he could probably answer this question.
Yeah, it's about 4 blocks.
It's about.
Yeah, Tim said it's about 4 blocks, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I've
About
got
4 blocks.
a number of, call it 650 feet from Holy Family. And I believe that, and actually, Tim, this is your neighborhood, so you'll be able to answer this. I believe that the highway department does sidewalk plowing in this area.
They
Because
do.
it's
They have that little whirling machine that
Yeah.
goes down the sidewalk there.
all right, and ends up pushing that snow onto abutting properties, not just in the road. And it creates a nice trench. So that's something else to think about too. And just to beat a dead horse here, we're looking at the overall area on Google Earth. If you look at the neighbor to the right, they've got a gigantic paved dual arch driveway. They've got a left and right driving paved surface with a giant arch driveway in the front. So a lot of their front yard is paved. It is and can be considered a parking area. So I don't think we'd be out of the realm to be able to grant a variance based on the next door neighbor. Next door neighbor's front yard is probably 60% paved. So I don't think we'd be out of the realm to be able to grant this variance with certain conditions. So
If I just as far as the neighborhood goes, it's just not that's property to the right, but there's the apartment building 2 more doors up, the convenience store, the opticians parking lot is, almost completely paved. The nursery school, is
Mhm.
completely paved. There's a
Mhm.
gas station, a body shop.
Mhm.
So there's quite a bit. The commercial properties have their front yards paved, and this is a case where a business, they have employees, and frankly, it's an historic. It's an historic building. I'd rather see the building stay and be put to good use.
Mhm. No, I agree. Who else? Mr. Rubel, I see you sitting there. A little blurry, but I see you. Your mic is off. Do you have any any additional comments? I know you said that there's never been a complaint over here. These guys are nice.
I would just like to say what Paul had said with the arborvitae's, if they go all the way out, that they don't block the view of the cars coming out of Garrity, that they stay at a certain height. And I would suggest maybe get a little letter from the fire department in regards to the hydrant. They may want to take that second arborvitae that's in from the corner and just eliminate it.
Mhm.
That's behind that hydrant. So a letter from the fire department would be nice.
Okay,
That's all I got.
nice. Attorney Galvin, I know you're in the wings. I think you're in your car.
Can you
Is there
hear
anything
me?
you want to talk about?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Hold on a second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Rob?
It's going in and out.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just listening to the discussion. I don't have anything to add.
All right, I do have one question. Mr. Tanzi was absent from the last meeting. You and I talked about this. He did review the tapes of the tapes of the meeting. The problem is that because of the power outages and the sheer fact that the clerk's office did not have the paperwork to fill out for the Mullins rule, he has yet to fill that out. Can he
As
still be?
as long as he agrees to do that, then I'm okay with that.
Attorney Brodsky, you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tanzi, you gonna do it?
Yeah, if they get me the paperwork, I certainly will.
I'll send you one, Greg, and you can file it.
Okay, great. Thank
All
you.
right, so we're all set. So we do have a 5-member voting board. That's myself, that's Mr. Baker Jr., that's Mr. Haynes, Mr. Galley, and Mr. Tanzi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's see. Where are we at this point? We are, if nobody else has anything to say, I'd like to open it up to the general public. Is there anybody that wants to speak in favor of this application? Hearing none, I say, is there anybody that wants to speak opposed to this, this motion or this application? Got none. All right, board members, you got anything else to say? Nope. No, everybody good?
I want to say one thing.
Mr. Galley, go for it, sir.
It's kind of already been said, but I just want to say that the idea of paving the front seems to be in line with the other businesses in the area, just as an opinion on aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
If they have like the barrier with the landscaping or the arbor vitae, or forgive me for not pronouncing it right.
It took me a while, so it's arbor vitae. It took me a while. It took me a while too.
Thank you. Arbor vitae, something of that nature, to me seems to serve as a barrier and an aesthetic, benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to express that. That's all.
All right, thank you, sir. So we've gone, let's see, I'm pulling out my notes here. Let's see, I hear none. Let's see, I guess I need a motion to close the open portion of this meeting. Mr. Brodsky, do you have anything else to add?
Mr. Chair, I think we're agreeable to what the board wants to see, which is a paved parking area with 5-foot setbacks, an appropriately sized gravel strip or the equivalent for drainage, and perhaps a different style of landscaping plan with an eye towards site distance. And I don't know whether you want to see that plan prior to closing the public hearing and voting, or whether you want to, if the board was inclined to grant relief, to condition the project such that we would have to provide that to you. I'm just looking for guidance procedurally as to how you do it. We're happy to do this any way you'd like to do this, obviously.
We'll discuss that in the end, but I think we're on the same page. I'm not worried about that. So-
No,
if you're closing
Rob,
the public hearing and
he
you want
wants to be able to
I just
submit
want to
that.
make sure that we get, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Galvin speaking.
Yeah, no, Rob, Attorney Brodsky's 100% right. The board can't receive any new information if it closes the public hearing.
Right.
You could make a condition that he has to come up with a revised plan consistent with what he just indicated. But, you know, that wouldn't be something that you see necessarily. That would be something that they just have to file. And maybe gets filed with the building commissioner.
I don't think that's
So do you want to
necessary.
see it? Do you want to see it, make sure it is what you want and keep the hearing open? Or do you want to make it a condition? That's your question.
I believe that we can condition this such that no new plan would be required, but in the end, an as-built plan, site as-built plan, most specifically for the front, would be required. And then a visual inspection by the building commissioner, making sure that the plantings aren't going to be any higher than, let's say, 2 feet, to maintain site distance up and down North Ave. I believe that verbally we can condition this as such. And again, in the end, a site as-built plan just showing the parking area, the grading, and that's it. I think we can do this by verbally or by written word alone. I don't think it's necessary to go back to the engineer, have him but dress up a plan, cost Lighthouse more money. I don't think it's necessary. Because in the end, we're going to require a site as-built. So. Is that attorneys? Does that work? Yes.
It's completely up to your discretion.
Okay.
Thank you. I have no objection to that approach. That's very practical.
Board members, how do you feel?
I agree.
Does that work?
Yes.
Yes. All right. I get everybody shaking their heads. Yes. Okay. I would entertain a motion. To close the open portion of this meeting.
Move, Mr.
I got a motion. I need a second. Come on,
Second.
Mr. Galli, you're voting on here.
Yep, I second the
Okay,
motion.
second, Mr. Galli, that's perfect. Roll call, myself is yes. Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Galli,
Yes.
and Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Okay, this is where my cliff notes come into play. Hearing none, call to do. Okay, the board will deliberate tonight and you are welcome to stay. You will receive a decision in the mail with a date stamp. 21 days from the date stamp on the decision, go to the town clerk's office and request a certificate of no appeal. If no one has appealed, the town clerk will give you a certification and a copy of the original decision. Take those to the registry of deeds, have them recorded. And one of the conditions is always to show the building department proof of recording. That's it.
Great.
Everybody okay? You gonna hang out? Do you wanna go grab a cup of coffee? Because we have another meeting to start.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, I may come back.
Not a problem. That's fine. We'll be going for a little while on this next one. So, all right, let me get rid of this one. Let me get rid of that. Okay, 7:45 related. 7:45 remotely conducted public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021, 7:45 on the application submitted by Charles A. Picard for a variance and/or special permits pursuant to section 415-7, 415-8, 415-22, and 415-89.1 to allow a 22-foot by 8-foot extension to the existing garage. The existing garage is 22 feet by 12 feet. The proposed dimension for the new garage as altered will be 22 by 20 at the premises known as and numbered 34th Thayer Terrace, Rockland, Massachusetts. The property is located in the R1 zoning district, section 415-8 of the bylaw, and is further identified as lot 55-61 on the Rockland Assessor's maps. The owners of the property are Charles Picard and Francis Picard, 34th Thayer Terrace, Rockland, Massachusetts. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town website and the zoning board's webpage for additional information and remote meeting details. Let's see. Picards, who's here to speak?
Yes, how you doing? What I'm trying to do here is add on to my garage, because right now when I pull my car in, I can't open the doors.
Okay.
That's one problem. And the other problem, if I get add on to the garage, when it's bad weather, I can push the garage door, open it up, drive in the garage, and then walk in the house. By adding just 8 more feet, I'm still leaving the property line, according to the chart, 8, I think it's 6 feet. Or 8 feet.
I've got 8.76 feet, which is pretty much 8 foot 9 inches.
Yes, that's how much from when I add the addition will be left from the property line to the new garage.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna open this up. Is that your presentation? Because I need to open it up to the board. And actually, before I
You can
do
open
that,
up to the board, I'm all set.
All
It's
right,
pretty straightforward.
before I do that, I need to say who's voting on this. It's gonna be myself, Mr. Baker Senior, Mr. Galley, and Mr. Tanzi. Those are the voting members. So I'd like to open it up to the board. Mr. Baker Jr., talk to me, sir.
I have nothing really to ask. It appears pretty straightforward and based on what the applicant has said, both in his brief statement and on the application. I have no questions at this time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Haynes?
If I remember right, the required setback is 15.
15. The current house is at 15.68, so he's over 15 feet. I
just wanted to make sure I had that correct. And when I looked at this, I had to do a double take because it looks like Pine Haven Circle, I think was the name of that street.
Yep.
That similar situation. So as long as there's not a drainage, I don't.
Drainage easement.
I did want to ask. Right, I was having a deja vu with this.
Yeah.
I did want to ask. From what I could see from looking at the existing conditions, the driveway is already there. Is the driveway being changed at all?
No, driveway is exactly the same way. I'm not adding or taking anything away.
That's what I thought. It looked like it kind of went to where the fences are existing now. And so from my perspective, since the driveway is already there, we're not encroaching on that 10-foot sightline. Plus, I frankly I have no questions about it. I have no issues here.
Okay. Let's see. Who's next? Mr. Haynes. Mr. Galley, talk to me, sir.
Well, I thought I had a picture, but I don't know if didn't we have some? I can't find my copy. I thought I saw something and I can't find it. If I printed it and I lost it.
Do you have access to your email?
Yeah, well, if Verizon will let me, I do.
I actually have this on my screen. I might be able to share my screen.
Yeah,
Possibly.
I had a copy.
Let me see if I can share. I'm gonna press buttons here, and I want to see if I can share my screen. Yeah. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
All right, so that's the, if you guys can see that, that's the plan. Mr. Galley, do you have any questions based on what you're seeing?
Yeah, I wanted to double check, like we were talking about the distance to the property line. I want to double check. And
He's calling out the existing number right here is 15.68 feet.
Yeah.
Which is basically 15 foot 8 inches. The proposed dimension would be 8.76 or 8 foot 9 inches in the front. That's the closest. What else you got?
So was he required to be 10 feet?
15. He's all right. That's the issue. This is one of the first ones that we've had where he's actually conforming right now. He's conforming as is. So he's kind of self-imposing his own hardship.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, because that's what I need to verify. I didn't understand if that was. I figured that was the problem, but I wasn't sure what the limit was. So I don't really have a question other than to for clarification, what you just gave me at this point.
All right. Mr. Tanzi, I'm coming to you. Did you already see the plan, or do you need the plan up on the screen?
Yeah, I've seen the plan.
Okay. I'm gonna do my
So we're at basically at 15.7 right now for existing.
Yeah, 15.7.
So now he's over the 15, and there's no way that he can get. He's got too much frontage to have
to get it reduced.
Any type of reduction in the side yard. How wide is the existing garage right now?
Mr. Picard, can you answer that, please?
Yeah, the existing garage just itself is 12 feet. What I mean by 12 feet is, if you look at the plan, there's a little porch there. You see the porch? Little porch is there, front porch. Now, from the porch to where it is now is 12 feet out to the property line. You know what I mean? Like
the question was, how wide is the existing garage? The existing garage is 12 feet, correct?
12 feet wide by 22 feet long.
Okay, Mr. Tanzi, next.
So are you trying to get a 2-car garage here? I mean, usually a 12-foot wide garage is, good enough for a one.
You can't open doors.
One car.
Can't open the door.
I can't open the door to my truck if I pull it in. And I like to add a doorway for my breezeway to the garage, but I can't do that because I need 36 inches to open the door. So if I open the door from the breezeway to the garage, I can't put the car in the garage.
Oh, so by opening the door, the doorway is getting in the way of the
Exactly.
pocket door. How about a pocket door? You don't need it. Pocket door.
Oh, pocket door.
It takes care of that.
Oh, you're talking about the door of the house, not the door of the car.
He wants to put he wants to put a breezeway in there. He wants to be able to.
No, we got the breezeway.
Get out of he wants to be able to put a door in there to be able to pull the car in, get out of the car, and walk into the house through a door that goes into the house through the garage. The problem is that if you open without some extended garage, you can't open the door into the garage. But you could either throw in a pocket door or have a doorway that opens into the house. So that's kind of a null reason. Mr. Picard, what I'm struggling with here is I'm trying to figure out a legal reason to grant this variance. Here's the two scenarios that I see. You're right on Studley's Pond, so I see the water line for Studley's Pond.
Correct.
There's a reason why your home is where it is, and that's it.
Okay.
Close to the property line as they could within the zoning bylaw, and that's what they did. So that's number one. That's one of the issues that I'm kind of running into. What you're doing is it's called a self-imposed hardship. You're creating your own problem. The house is where it is, and it's already conforming. So we need a legal reason to grant this variance. So I am looking at the location of the water, or at least the water line as shown by the survey. I did some measurements on this too. Have you contacted the Conservation Commission on this?
No, I haven't, but I was gonna try to get a hold of them sometime last week or 2 weeks. I couldn't get a hold of them because the power outage and
Yep,
Problem.
no, that's understood. Because based on what I'm seeing right here, what you're proposing is technically within 100 feet of that area. And the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction over that.
Okay.
So they may have something to say about this as well. I'm looking at this, trying to figure out how to grant this. Because again, your house was put there for a reason, because that's as close as you could get. Now we're trying, again, I have a hard time looking at this as a good case for a variance, because again, you're creating your own problem.
Well,
Okay.
just to interject, when we looked at Pine Haven, I think I've got the name right. You've got this weirdly shaped lot on a curve with a house that doesn't sit perpendicular to the side, and they're 20. The back is 20 feet off, but it's where it is because of the weird shape of the lot. That frontage, if you look at their frontage, most of it's like barely has any depth to it. The actual lot where there's any depth is actually very short. And the neighbor's driveway, the neighbor's also far enough away, and most of this is happening behind the neighbor. So everything that's even all of this is happening basically in their backyard. Just this weird shaped, cul-de-sac waterfront lot. And I'd rather see them add on to the left side than go any closer to the water. So, to me, this makes no sense.
They wouldn't be able to go any closer to the water.
No,
Not at all.
no.
Yeah.
And again, that's why the house was put where it was.
Yeah.
To me, all those qualities of this lot. Yeah, they should not. I don't think they should not be able to have greater enjoyment of their house. Over what amounts to less than 7 feet, especially at that angle.
No, I can hear it. All right, everybody's had a chance to speak. I'm going to open this up to Mr. Rubel. Talk to me, sir.
No, I don't have any issues other than having Doug Galemi look at it.
Okay.
Other than that, no. No, I don't have any issues with it.
All right. Attorney Galvin, are you listening in here?
Yes, I am.
Well,
I think the board could use the kind of the trapezoidal shape of the lot also to distinguish it from, other lots in the area, and that's why you have this, real close left-hand corner. So that's something that arguably gives you a basis for granting a variance. At least that's one element of the test.
okay. All right. Anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah, I would like to say one thing, if I may.
Sure.
Well, the other point why I'm making it wider, if I have a wider entrance to the garage, that means I can pull the car in on bad weather and I can open both sides of the door. Right now, I can't do it with the truck I own and a Toyota I own. If I pull in, I can't open one side of the door. I can open the driver's side, but I can't open up passenger side. So if I could just add on 8 feet, it'd give me that little more room to open both sides of the door. That's the main reason.
Open both sides. So how many cars are you trying to get in?
Just one.
One at a time,
Just one car.
one at a time.
So
Control.
two. So
No.
two.
No, we're
No.
just putting one car in at a time.
Just
Okay.
one
So
car.
if his car is in there, mine's not. If my car's in there, his is not.
Okay. You're gonna get home first every night, Mrs. Picard.
I know.
Okay, I like that.
I mean, I'm not getting any younger. If I could, I'm old and retired. It'd be nice if I could just pull up to the garage, push a
Mhm.
button, open the door, drive
Mhm.
in, and then get in the house.
The
Nice.
dream.
It would save a little.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I don't have a car, you know, I don't have a garage or nothing. If you just, it seems like you need a little bit more space so you can open up the doors to the car when you park the single car or truck inside. Does
Yeah.
it need to be 8 feet wider? Because basically, like, that's basically like the size of garage doors to make, like, to fit a garage door into the garage. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So, so you have a garage door on there right now. It's an 8-foot
Yeah.
door? Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do for a garage door on this?
Well, I'm just gonna add another 8 inches. Right now I have, the width is 7 by 7. I'm gonna make it 8 feet by 7 feet high. So just a little wider, just enough room so she won't keep breaking the mirrors.
Okay.
She broke
Alright.
one mirror, I broke one. It's
No,
a little tight.
believe me, I understand it. So again, my question is, how wide do you really need this? Because I've done door opening calcs, and you really only need, worst case scenario, you really only need about 15 feet. 15 feet of width to open both doors, and we're talking on something old school that's got a 4.5 foot long door, like an old Concord or something like that.
Right.
You know, you only need 15 feet wide. Do you really need all 8 feet?
I can drop it down to 6, if that's okay. I mean, 6 would be perfect then. If you guys are okay with just adding 6 more feet to what I already have instead of 8.
All right. So if we dropped it down to 6, so that cuts to call it 2, that's 8, 9, 10. So that actually would end up being just over 10 feet. I don't mind that. Now they're telling me that my connection is unstable. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Cool. All right. I'm gonna turn it back to the board. Does everybody on the board, any other questions? No? Okay. I'm gonna open it up to the general public. I don't see anybody here from the general public. So does anybody have anything to say negative or positive about this application? 1, 2,
Do
3.
we want to
Hearing
read?
none.
There is a letter.
Oh, you're the secretary. No, yeah, no, you're the clerk. You're the clerk. You have to read it. Thank you.
Oh, great. Let me see if I can find it here. I've got it open. Here it is. So there's a letter from Deb Wiley.
Got it. All right.
So I believe, I don't know that I've got their address, but oh yeah, there it is. So I'm going to read it. Good morning. My mother, Rosemary Wiley, and I live at 26 Thayer Terrace, and we have no objections to the extension to Charles Picard's garage being built. He did notify us that he would be doing this. Thank you, Deb Wiley. So neighbor.
Nice.
My neighbor next door.
Letter of support.
I take care of
The brother that would most definitely be the one that would get affected by this. So that was a nice. That was all right. So we got that. Other than that, if the board is good with what they're seeing on paper, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Got a motion, need a second?
Second.
They got a second someplace. Where did the second come from?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second it.
I got Mr. Tanzi as a second. Need a roll call, myself, yes. Mr. Baker Jr.?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Galley?
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
All right. Public hearing. Okay, let's see. Hearing none, closed. Okay. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Picard.
Yes.
The board
We're losing you.
deliberate tonight, and you are welcome on the decision. You go to the town clerk's office, request a certificate of no appeal, and if no one has appealed, the town clerk will give you a certification and a copy of the original decision. Take those to the registry of deeds and have them recorded. One of the conditions is always to show the building department proof of recording, and that's that. All right, again, I know I went fast, but we're gonna make this decision tonight. You are absolutely welcome to stay online. And we can talk after. That's up to you. Just because it's getting a little late, I am gonna require, we're gonna talk about that. That's the decision that we have to make.
Okay.
So
All right.
let's take can we take a 3-minute break? Does that work for everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
The facility.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna take a 3-minute break and we shall return.
You got the card, right?
Go for 6 feet.
Huh?
Go for 6 feet then.
Yeah,
Jam that. Easier.
yeah, I think I get something. I can't open the doors.
Come and look at it. 3 feet, no, from the door.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait for Mr. Haynes to come back.
Here.
What's going on? All right, everybody here? Yes. Let's see. Attorney Brodsky, do you mind if we take the stair terrace first?
Oh, not at all. Thank you.
All right, I just want to talk to you about it. I mean, you know, okay. Board members, talk to me. What are your feelings? Don't all speak at once.
I got a thought.
Mr. Galley, talk to me.
It's in line with what I was asking before. I'm inclined to approve of something if it was less wide than he asked for. I mean, it just seems, I'm just concerned about being too close to the property line, and in the future, the neighbor may regret it, or whoever they sell their house next to may not want it to be so close. And if they don't need it that wide, we want it to still work for them.
No, I know what he's trying to, I know exactly what you're saying, and I know what the applicant's trying to,
Yep.
he's trying to get to. I absolutely understand that.
Yeah. And I want him to have what he says he wants, which is to be able to open both doors, not worry about chipping anything, hitting anything, and, you know, fit the truck in there, the biggest vehicle he has, and probably as big as anyone's going to bring in there.
Right. Anybody else? Mr. Baker Jr., talk to me, sir.
But I see absolutely nothing wrong with approving the variance with the dimensions as requested in the application. You know, either way, it gets closer to the property line. And as the current abutter is represented, they have no objection to that. I think when we're talking about a matter of 1 or 2 feet, if it gives the gentleman the ability to open the doors with some degree of comfort getting in and out of the vehicle. I say, well, I'm in favor of doing that. Thank you.
Okay. As presented.
As presented in the application and in the statement.
Okay. Next.
What he said.
Ditto.
I like that.
Actually, the way we got it right now, you're below Mr. Baker, so you could do like the icon, the looking up. Yeah, there you go. Mr. Tansy, you got anything to say?
I've never been looked up to before.
So have we decided whether it's an issue of a 6-foot garage or an 8-foot addition with?
The applicant said that he's willing to bump it down to a 6-foot. Again, he's asking for an 8-foot. I would be more inclined to grant a variance if it was a 6-foot. That basically maintains a 10-foot buffer or the 10-foot setback along that side. And technically, that's enough room to drive a vehicle behind the house if for some reason you needed to get there. And I don't, again, it's not shown on the plan, and I can't ask the applicant at this point. I'd like to know if there's a fence over there. Let me just see if I can pull up Google Earth real quick.
There is. There's existing fence on the left side of the garage.
Correct.
All right. Okay, so we know that. Again, I personally would be more inclined to work with a 6-foot addition, because again, if it really came down to it, you could drive a vehicle. Which again, when they're dealing with the construction, that's going to be an issue too, trying to get materials and such behind the building. Because you're certainly not going to want to drive on the water side.
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that anyway, right?
No,
So,
steep grade to to the house to the pond is a bit of steep grade.
Yep.
It wouldn't work. A truck will fall over, car will fall over. That
But
would
you
not
need-
work.
So you would need that access anyway, because when, once the foundation's in the ground, you would need to be able to have a decent amount of access around that side just to get materials back.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I didn't think of that. It's a very good point.
Mr. Tanzi, you had something to say, sir?
Well, yeah, technically, he's got illusionary frontage. I mean, his effective frontage is from the let's call it the right side property line over to the brook, right? I don't know what that linear feet is, but
No, what are you talking about? He's around the curve. He's got 141.06.
yeah, but what about to where the brook is?
What about to where the brook is?
I mean, he can't really do anything with his lot on the other side of the brook. I mean, that's just lot.
It's not a brook. That's Reed's Pond, Studley's Pond.
Oh, all right. Well,
He fronts on the pond as well as fronts on Thayer Terrace.
yeah, but the frontage. Maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
Looks like it's showing it.
Like 2/3 of it is like, barely has any depth.
Yeah, but okay, so he's got some type of a easement and a head wall. I mean, what does he got from the CB iron pipe going around to that first part of that easement? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
if I
mean-
had to guess, let's see, if I had to guess, that's 20, that's 20 there. The easement's probably 20 feet wide.
Yeah, he's got maybe 40 feet or 45, 50 feet of
20,
frontage.
40, 50. Oh, and I hear where you're trying to go. It's not gonna work that way. Doesn't work. He's got 141.06 feet of frontage. I hear what you're saying about the illusionary and all that.
But that
Right,
goes to the
But of
issue of-
effective frontage, he really doesn't. I mean, for the usable frontage area, yeah, he doesn't have 141. I mean, from a standpoint of zoning, he does, but an effective. I'm trying to find a way to, say that, with the reduction, considering, I mean, this is a unique shape to the lot right here.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why
that easement, and I mean, with the reduction, of the, if you count the effective area, I mean, this is a hypothetical, keep in mind, but he would almost make it on the, on the reduced setback.
Yeah, but Greg, it doesn't work that way.
I understand that, but I mean, if we're entertaining a variance, anything that's unique to this property is a good justification.
Oh, we don't have.
Because otherwise, I mean, I don't want somebody coming along and, they have a regular sized lot that really isn't unique. And then they say, well, give this guy a variance, give me a variance. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, but I think from that standpoint, based on lot shape, I think we can get away with it. All right, not get away with it, but I think we can look at this and say, from the standpoint of lot shape And while we weren't really supposed to hear from Mr. Picard, he did tell us that the whole water side of the property is nothing but a topographical slope, downward slope. So I think from the standpoint of lot shape and topography, we can grant a variance. End of story. We can grant the variance. The question becomes, do we want to grant it as presented, or do we want to condition it to be a 6 foot wide, which will end up giving a little bit more access around the side of the property, both during construction and after construction. Again, not everybody tries to drive a vehicle around the backside of their house. I do. All right. There are times when I have to put my vehicle in the back. There are times when I need to access things in the back that, drop things off with my truck. So I know firsthand that you need some width. You need some width to be able to get into the back. Now, is 8 foot 9 inches wide enough? Potentially, but is 10 feet wide enough? Yes. So the way that I look at it, I don't think we have a problem granting a variance. The uniqueness is the lot shape. The uniqueness is the topographical issues. I personally think that, and again, based on what the applicant is stated in the open meeting, he's willing to bump it down to a 6 foot. I think the 6 foot would give a little bit more room to the property line, and I think it's a good trade-off. We grant the variance, and Mr. Rubel, raising your hand.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I got a question for Mr. Galvin here. On the section 1 on the application, he's got application for dimensional variance, application for use variance, application for section 6 finding, special permit for use permissible by special permit, and appeal from the decision of the zoning enforcement officer. Those were all checked off. So I don't know how it was advertised, but where he was in the 15-foot setback, he was already meeting that setback. Bob, is this a special permit or a variance?
Well, my understanding, Tom, was that he wasn't actually in the side setback.
Not.
Right.
So it's a variance, and the other special permit and the appeal is all moot.
Okay.
Should be denied as moot.
Okay.
Do we have to deny each and every one as moot as a part of the decision?
No, you could say the applicant's request for special permit and appeal of the decision of the building commissioner are denied as moot.
Okay. I will come back to you on that one, just to make sure that we got it in the app. And thank you, Mr. Rubel. I appreciate that. That was a very good catch. Okay, back to the 6 versus the 8. I know we're kind of split on that. So you've heard my spiel. I think a 6 foot addition would accomplish what he's trying to, would accomplish what the applicant is trying to accomplish. It gives you a little bit more room to the property line to be able to access the back during and after construction, and it lessens the ask. So that's where I stand. I'd have no problem. I'd have no problem with the variance. I would have to condition it. I would ask to condition it to a 6 foot by 22 foot. The next thing would be a foundation as-built, and review by the Conservation Commission. That's everything that I can think of. What's everybody else say?
I ditto what you just said.
Done. Next. Because Mr. Haynes, Mr. Baker, I know you disagree with me.
Yeah, I'm okay with it as is. To me, the 2 feet, frankly, 2 feet doesn't make a difference. Driveway isn't changing.
No, that's fine. I dig it. I absolutely dig it. Then I would entertain a motion. Nobody wants
I'll
to?
make the motion.
I got a motion. What's your motion, sir?
Grant a 6-foot wide driveway,
Garage addition?
garage, yeah, I'm sorry, I meant garage addition, yes. And granting the extension of 6 feet on the garage.
Okay, with conditions.
Sure,
Is that, and then we can discuss conditions after.
right.
Okay, I got a motion. I need a second.
I second.
I got a second. We're gonna do roll call vote. I'm gonna start with Mr. Tanti.
Yes,
We're gonna continue to Mr. Galley.
Yes.
We're gonna go to me. Yes. We're gonna go to Mr. Haynes.
Doesn't he have to have 4 out of 5 for the variance?
I believe so. Mr. Attorney Galvin, this is a super majority.
It's the super majority for variance.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Mr. Baker,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Baker, clear?
Yeah, my express preference was, of course, the 8-foot, but 6 foot is.
6 foot is fine. All right, I got 5 members, roll call, everybody approved. Let's talk about, Mr. Picard, so far you've got the variance. We're gonna talk about the conditions of the variance, okay?
Okay,
All right, first and foremost, the size of the addition will be 6 by 22. Kim, you got this?
Yep. correct.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the very first one. Second of all, review by the Conservation Commission.
Okay, I'll have to get a hold of them and when I get a hold of them, I get some paperwork and I'll drop it off at City Hall.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to. You gotta have to talk to the Concom. First and foremost, you're probably gonna have to have a meeting with them or something like that. You can talk to the secretary, the conservation secretary. There's email and stuff like that. You can email them directly, and they'll tell you exactly what they need, what they expect. So number one,
Why don't you, Rob, just make it compliant with any applicable requirements of the Conservation Commission.
okay, Kim, you got that?
Yep.
Okay. Next is going to be a
As-built plan.
Yep, we're going to need a foundation as-built plan, and that needs to be turned into and approved by the building commissioner.
Prior to the prior to the construction of this.
Permit. I would say.
Okay.
I
Well,
think
if it's a foundation permit, it could be as-built foundation can be turned in prior to the full building permit.
if that's the case, Mr. Rubel, does that make sense? Muting, can't hear you. Mute, can't hear you. There you go.
I would need the as-built before I inspect the foundation.
Okay, so Kim, you got that?
No problem. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
All right, Kim's got that.
The as-built has to come in after the foundation is in the ground, because that's how you know that it's as-built, right?
Right, but before I inspect it, I need to see the as-built.
Yeah, he's got to inspect it. He's got to inspect the condition of the foundation, and you need that as-built drawing in hand.
So he'll do that before he issues the regular building permit, though, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
As long as we get that taken care of. What's the other thing? There's one other thing. Size of the addition. Concom is probably going to want to see a revised plan that shows the 6-foot addition as opposed to the 8-foot addition. I would be okay with not requiring that to come to us. But I don't know, board members, what do you think? Should we see a revised certified plot plan? Because I know Concom's going to want to see it.
I don't need to see it.
I really don't need to see it either, because I think we're conditioning this appropriately, that it's pretty simple. He's gonna need to, Mr. Picard, you're probably gonna have to talk to Mr. Garvey, and have him revise the plan one last time to show, the 6-foot addition as opposed to the 8-foot addition. And that's the plan that you're gonna want to show to conservation.
Okay.
Attorney Galvin, do you got anything else?
Nothing else.
All right, Kim, can you read back everything?
Sure, I have size of addition 6 by 22. Then the second one I have review with the Conservation Commission compliant with any applicable requirements by the Conservation Commission. For number 3, I have foundation as-built plan turned in and approved by the building commissioner prior to inspecting the foundation.
Okay. That it? So that's 3 conditions. We good with 3 conditions?
I'm good.
Yes, good. Everybody good?
Good.
All right, Mr. Picard, you got approved for a 6-foot addition. So again, you're gonna wanna get in touch with Mr. Garvey, have him modify the plan to show a 6-foot addition. You're gonna have to have him modify the dimension off the lot line, which is gonna end up being 10, maybe even 10 and a half feet, something along those lines. We don't need to see that. If you do want to provide a drawing to us, that would be great. I'm not requiring it. The board is not requiring that. But other than that, we're good to go.
Thank you for your time.
Not a problem, sir. Thank you for putting up with us.
It's okay.
I like your guitars in the back. You
Why,
own-
thank you. I like that too. And I'll be honest with you, not one person has said, hey, why did you shave? Not
Oh,
one person has said a word about that.
Hadn't
I'm
noticed.
only interested in the guitars.
So why did you shave?
It was a conscious choice to, it was a conscious choice because the night before the 30th, we had a party at the sandpaper factory, and it was a costume party.
Yeah.
We got together with a buddy of mine who does theater makeup, and
Yeah.
he painted my entire head.
oh, nice.
So I wanted to give him a full blank canvas, aside from shaving my eyebrows.
I thought you looked different and I
Oh,
couldn't.
thank you. I thought you looked shinier. All right, let's talk next. Lighthouse.
We still need the motion to deny those 2 other aspects.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. All right. Attorney Galvin, can we give that language again?
Yes, the other motion would be to deny the request for a special permit and to deny the appeal of the building commissioner's decision as moot.
Move.
All right, I got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. Roll call. Myself, yes. Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Galley,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Kim, you got that?
Yes.
Rock and roll. All right, now let's talk Lighthouse. Again, don't all talk at once.
I am good with our 5-foot buffer.
Okay.
Paved.
All right, so let me just pull up that plan one more time, just so this one right here. Okay. What I think we should require is, again, specifically, we said this already, a 5-foot, it doesn't have to necessarily, talking to Mr. Tanzi, it does not have to necessarily be stone. But I thought that at least along the street, what's going to end up happening is the sidewalk's going to get plowed, so snow's going to get pushed that way. They're going to plow that. It's going to get pushed to the side. So somehow, some way, snow's going to start to melt. And I figured with a stone trench or stone landscaping, I feel like it would work. I feel like it would work better. So if we required a stone, let's say a stone landscaped 5-foot buffer along North Avenue, along the right-hand side property line. Yeah, along the right-hand side property line, which would end up being a little bit less because the fence on that side is also substantially into the applicant's property. So maybe we don't need a stone trench there, but definitely some sort of stonescape along the front. And then along the right-hand side, just maintain a 5-foot buffer. From there, the driveway should be paved. With positive, with drainage away from the building. Parking lot does not have to be striped. At least I don't think it has to be striped. I think they're adults. I think they can figure out how to park on there. What else?
So my only objection to the gravel as opposed to a planted landscaped buffer is that gravel just says, go ahead and park on me. And
Yeah.
so,
No, you're right.
So I'd rather see it as soft, basically greenscape, plants, grass, something that's just a green buffer. It's a way of saying, this isn't hard, this is soft. This is
No, I dig it.
buffer.
This is why I was going back and forth with it, because Mr. Tanzi did kind of answered the question that I kind of threw out there. When it comes to drainage, and again, it's an existing condition. It's already draining into the road to begin with. So we're not changing anything really. So again, 5-foot buffer, landscaped buffer. Does that work?
Planted
Landscape
landscape.
buffer with nothing taller than 24 inches, because at least that way, if the car is pulling up to Garrity, down Garrity up to the sidewalk, you're going to see people on the sidewalk. You're going to see the cars coming left and right. So 5 foot landscape buffer, no landscaping taller than 24 inches. 5-foot landscaped buffer along the right-hand side, right, that's the easterly property line, up to the face of the building. There's already grass along the face of the building. Parking area shall be paved. What else? Anything else?
You want that letter from the fire department?
Yes, a letter from the fire department reviewing the current plan. But they need to know that, Attorney Brodsky, are you gonna reach out to the fire department on this?
Of course.
Okay, because again, we're not making it a condition to redo this plan. I don't want the applicant to have to do that. Will you be able to kind of navigate through this with them and say, based on this plan, we're incorporating a 5-foot buffer along the property line? Do you have any problems, Mr. Fireman? Can you handle that?
Yes.
Okay. So the next condition would be discussion and approval by the fire department. So you got that. Anything else?
So there should be no additional lighting out there, I would say, just.
Okay.
Like
that. Anything else?
What about, I don't know, I know they were open to it, but extending the landscaping towards the Garrity Court. I mean, there's a sidewalk section, but I don't know if that has to be specified. I still feel
let me blow the plan up just a little bit here.
Yep, you're right. That the 5-foot landscape buffer will go along the eastern side and along the southerly side all the way to the sidewalk, the Garrity Court sidewalk.
Yeah.
All the, and so the 5 foot the 5 foot buffer will extend from from the right hand side lot line to the left hand side lot line, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Accounting for that, there's a concrete sidewalk there.
Accounting for the concrete walkway.
Yeah, I see that. Let me just pull up Google Earth real quick one more time.
There's a walkway along the building. I guess it's right there along the Garrity.
Oh. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Get down here so I can see you.
Well, it looks like just dirt.
Yeah, I see what yeah, I see what they're talking about. I mean, it looks like it's a bituminous like patchwork. It's almost the width of, put it this way, that's all gonna get ripped out when they pave. That whole thing is gonna get ripped out and they're just gonna pave in, patch up to the existing edge of the broken pavement that's already there. And they'd be stupid to leave a pothole, you know, so all of that's gonna end, all of that's probably gonna end up getting removed. Oh, shit, now it's telling me my internet connection is unstable. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that walkway that they're talking about, it's gonna end up getting removed. So the whole point, the whole point is, I think that if we just state that a 5 foot landscaped buffer along North Avenue from left property line to right property line, I think that covers it. And then a 5 foot landscaped buffer along the easterly property line, running northeasterly, to basically the grass strip that's already there.
Yeah, or the fence.
So, and then the parking lot shall be paved. No additional lighting. Letter of approval from the fire department. Anything else?
Yep,
Mr.
yep.
Prizio, can you read them off to us one more time?
Sure. I have a 5 foot landscape buffer along the front and along the right-hand side of property line, also along North Ave from left property line to right property line.
North Ave is the front property line.
Oh, okay. So
That's-
only
yeah,
one?
'cause-
I can nix the second one that you said?
Yeah, basically, if we can kind of like condense all that, 5 foot 5 foot buffer, 5 foot buffer strip along the front property line, from left property line to right property line.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Driveway should be paved with drainage away from the building, not required to be striped. I have letter from fire department with discussion and approval by reviewing current plan, and I have no additional lighting.
All right. Let's make sure that we have a 5 foot, as a part of the first condition, a 5 foot buffer along the easterly property line, no further than the existing building.
No further than existing building. Okay.
Mr. Brodsky, are we missing anything?
No, sir.
All right, so you're comfortable, you're comfortable with the conditions as we're talking?
Oh, they're very clear. Thank you very much.
Okay, I just did, again, a lot of times we require a new plan, and I just don't want to do that to the applicant at this point.
You're
It doesn't.
very considerate. Thank you.
And then the final condition, topographical as-built plan to be submitted to the building department.
Okay.
That should do it, if those are the conditions. So
Could we
you
hear
have
the,
any-
could we hear the 5-foot buffer thing again? Because I'm not sure I heard it all in there all at once.
Exactly. Kim, can you go over the 5-foot buffer again?
Sorry, I was talking and I was muted. 5-foot landscape buffer along right-hand side of property, right-hand easterly side of property line,
Okay,
not to extend further, hold on, not to extend further than, I can't read my scratch. What did you write? Not to extend further than
not to extend any further than the existing building.
existing building. That's what it says.
But again, also the 5-foot buffer, a 5-foot landscaped buffer, again, along the front property line, from left property line to right property line. So that's 2 sections of 5-foot buffer that we're requiring.
So there's a third one, which is the 5-foot buffer along the front of the building.
Which already exists. But I don't know if we have to require that 5-foot.
Well, we don't want it paved.
We don't want it paved, so a minimum of, so as a part of the first condition, a minimum of a 5-foot landscaped buffer along the face of the existing building. That work, Tim?
Yep, sure.
Okay. Kim, you got that?
Getting it right now.
Okay. Once you got that, run that back over. We lose you, Kim?
Nope, I'm just crossing out because you guys had, I don't know, 4 different things that we,
Yeah, I know. It's just, I'm trying to make sure that this is 100% clear, because I'm not requiring another plan. I don't want to do that.
okay, so let's go one by one. So you just said minimum of 5-foot landscape buffer along face of existing building, correct? That's one of them?
Along front face of existing
Front
building.
face. All right, number 2
That's
of
one.
it. What?
Yep, no, you're going right.
Okay. Is the 5-foot landscape buffer along the right-hand side of the property line?
You can say easterly property line. That sounds
Easterly
right.
property line?
Yep.
Okay.
Not, and not to extend any further than the existing building line. You all good there?
Yep.
All right, what's the next one?
And then I have 5-foot. You have 5-foot buffer from left property to right property?
5-foot buffer along front property line from left property line to right property line.
5-foot buffer along property line from left property line to right property line,
Front property line. Along.
front property line.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next.
Oh, you want me to go down the rest of them? I thought we were just redoing the buffers.
We haven't even voted on the decision yet. We have to, I just want to make sure we got all this covered before.
Sure. I didn't know you wanted, I thought we were just repeating the buffers. I didn't know you want me to repeat all of them. So
No.
driveway should be paved with drainage away from the building, not required to be striped. Letter from fire department reviewing current plan discussion and approval by fire department, no additional lighting, and then topographical as-built plan.
To be submitted to the building commissioner. All right. Everybody understand all the conditions? Everything's fine? If that is the case, I would entertain a motion I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve as conditioned.
As conditioned. I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Baker Jr. I got a roll call myself. Yes. Mr. Galley,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi,
I'm gonna dissent and say no.
you're gonna, whoa. Okay. Why?
Just the safety issues.
All right, so you're against it.
The variance, yeah.
Okay, so I
I respectfully dissent in that.
No, that's fine. No, believe me, man. We talk about this all the time. I'm going to say myself is a yes. Mr. Galley was a yes. Mr. Tanzi is a no. Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr. I didn't hear you.
Yes.
There we go. We got a yes. All right, so that's 4-1. Attorney Galvin, that's motion carries, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. Attorney Brodsky, we'll get this out to you ASAP. I'm assuming that you'd probably want to have Grady do like a 8.5 by 11 just sketch plan of just the front, just showing the paving, showing the buffer, showing the proposed buffers. And that's something that you could easily email over to the fire department for easy discussion, rather than try to give them a big plan, the whole 9 yards. So I don't know if that, again, it's not a condition. We're not making you do that, but I'm just suggesting because it might be easier.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. We're happy to do so. Thank you. And thank you everyone for considering this.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing a very good presentation on this, sir.
Excellent. So Rob, you just need some drums in the background.
Or cowbell.
I'm not going to turn it. I can't turn it all the way, but I did. It's that we're pretty good. We're pretty good at this point. I've got a lot of really nice scroll saw work by a very local artist.
Wow.
Yeah, you look at that.
That is cool.
Is that not the sickest thing you've ever seen? Look at that.
You know who does work like that is Tom Rubel.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He does that stuff.
That's why. That's also.
He makes rose petals and everything. It's intense.
That's why he's not on. That's why he turned his camera off too. All right, let's deal with this. Let's deal with the rest of the meeting and then get the heck out of here.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, Adam.
Stay well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming tonight. Let's see. Let's go back to the agenda here. Make sure I'm doing everything. So that's good. Discussion of non-deliberative announcements and scheduling. Deb, what do you got? I saw your head do this, but that's
Yeah,
about
I'm just trying to unmute myself. We're gonna have, I think, up to 5 items on the hearing for December 7th.
Okay.
And then I believe we'll be into January.
Okay. All right. What is the next meeting, just so we're clear?
The next meeting is November 16th, which is the 40B 320 Concord Street.
20 Concord Street. Are we waiting for anything else from them?
No, their packet's complete. I have some comments back from some different departments. I'm gonna follow up tomorrow. I believe some may have to meet before they can comment.
Okay.
So, but I'll touch base with you on that. I'll update you.
You're talking water and sewer?
We've heard from water and sewer, nothing yet from Concom. I've got police, we've got fire. We've got building,
Okay.
so.
All right.
Does that meeting start at 7:30 or 6:30 on the
6:30. 6:30.
All right, I'm glad based on Mr. Baker's, based on what Mr. Baker was saying the last time when it came to the shingle mill and stuff like that. I like starting at 6:30 for these big meetings. So that's a good setup.
That's November 16th.
November 16th.
Yes, the 16th.
Yeah, we had to do that because there was a timing when it comes to scheduling. We had to deal with that for the 40B because we only have a certain amount of time to schedule a meeting, and we were getting kind of bogged down, and that's why we have like five coming up on one meeting. So we got that. Anything else you need to add, Deb?
No, I believe that's it.
Rock and roll. Next thing I got is approval of previous meeting minutes. We have no minutes at this point to approve. And other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got a move. I got a motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
I got a second. Roll call. Myself is yes. Mr. Galley is
Yes.
yes. Mr. Tanzi is
No, I want to stay up late. And I like seeing your reaction when I say no. You should have seen, like, it just totally threw you for a loop and it cracked me up.
it always does. It always does. You're usually the most agreeable guy I know. So again,
Okay, I'll change this vote to a yes for you. Does
Mr.
that
Tanzi is a yes. Mr. Haynes is a
Yes.
yes. Mr. Baker Jr. is a
Yes.
go home, gentlemen, ladies. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for putting up with us. We'll talk to you all next round.
Okay,
Good night.
Mr. Chairman. Good night. Good night,
Bye.
all.
Right on.